Alright, so my first attempt to kind of one-take talk about this map that I had made did not go very well. I went through the very first version of the map, and then I accidentally paused and did not record myself talking about the second version, which actually was kind of important. So I fucked it up completely. So I've decided, for the sake of my throat and for the sake of time, that I am only going to talk about I'm going to mostly talk about the latest version of this map that I have made. I might dive into an earlier version or two, but I'm gonna mainly stick with this one and talk about the design decisions I made and why I made them, and what the hell I'm even doing this for. So, what this map is, this is CP Mache. It is an attack defense map. CP, of course, stands for control points, not anything else. So for control points, there are 3 control points, and you have to capture them in order. That is how the mode works. If you're watching this video, and there will probably be hardly anyone that actually does, you probably already know how this works, so I didn't really need to explain it. I'm really bad at explaining things. But the reason this map exists is because there is a contest. Well, technically a series of contests, but it's basically one big contest over on TF2 maps called Rule of Threes. The second phase of the contest has kind of already passed. Like, the time to submit entries for it has passed, and we're in the voting period as of recording this video. But the third, final, and longest portion of the contest has not happened yet. So there is still time for people that might be interested. The contest is called Rule of Threes. This is divided into 3 sections, which were a micro contest, a minor contest, and a major contest. The micro contest was just a fun little event. There's no voting, no judging, anything like that. But you only had 24 hours to make a map to fit the theme. The theme carries over to all 3 parts of the contest. The theme was you had to have 3 objectives of some kind. Either, this is an asymmetrical map, so I have 3 control points that fits the theme. If you made, say, like a pastime map, pastime typically has 3 goals on each side of the map. That counted for the theme. If you make a map with 3 stages, like Thunder Mountain, each stage counts as an objective. That fits the theme. Or you could be really off the wall. Well, not that off the wall, but you could be kind of nutty and do what I believe was Quantum Barber and Brandini Panini. Those are their full names. So Quantum and Brandini collabed to make a Koth map that had 3 stages. Kind of like, it's like how Overwatch handles Koth, but better because it's not Overwatch. Yeah, so that also fits the theme. Yeah, so what I ended up doing, I just you know what, I think simpler is better. So I just wanted to make a simple 3-point attack defense map, kind of like Mountain Lab or Mercenary Park, but hopefully better. And this is the latest version right now. This is A13. This is currently the version that is being judged by the community, or judged and rated by the community for the minor contest portion, and this will very obviously be the one that I'll be carrying into the major portion and hopefully trying to get into a near complete state by the submission date for that part of the contest, because I really like what I have for this map. That's especially why I want to talk about it. So we start at blue spawn. Actually, before I even say that, what I do want to say is that a lot of this map, as I'm just still running around inside of the spawn, a scout, just talking my head off, was a lot of this map actually didn't change that drastically through its entire development. The only massive, drastic change that happened, like absolutely massive change, was that the last point that I made for the micro contest just got thrown out entirely and replaced with a new last that has stuck for pretty much the entire rest of the map's development so far. And it was literally just when I started making the last point during the micro contest. I did not use all 24 hours that I had for the micro contest, but it was getting pretty late at night. I was getting pretty delirious, so last was just kind of a shit post in that version. But now it's slightly less of a shit post. But anyway, let's actually talk about the map that we're running around in right now. So you start at Blue Spawn. It's a train station. You can kind of explore it a little more than you normally could in spawns. I'm still meaning to like. I technically don't have to do this, but I've been meaning to like put like pieces of shit or whatever in between the train cars here and like over here so that you can climb over them without getting stuck. But it's literally just like, it's just fun to be able to explore the back of the spawn. And you can always just change class to get unstuck. And of course there's Deer with a shotgun back here, so why not? But anyway, coming to Blue Spawn, we actually talk about the gameplay now. So you have 3 exits. You have your 2 main exits here. You have this one. Let's punch at this building. And then you have this one that kind of goes off to the side. Originally, this spawn pointed this way, so you kind of had like a Thunder Mountain kind of setup. The spawn doors just point at each other and lead into the same area. But based on, I believe it was, well, I'll talk about that in a second. Actually, no, I can talk about it now. For a lot of, for like the first few versions of the map development, this blue spawn was much closer to this control point, and this whole transition section, which is these sets of buildings and this fence or whatever, did not exist. The blue spawn was just like pretty much right here, or like kind of here-ish, and you just go straight off to the rock and do stuff. But now it's not. And then, of course, to compensate for adding this stuff, I had to shift this door over here, whatever. You come out of these doors, kind of in this little courtyard here that starts sloping down. You can go underneath this bridge. That's kind of your main way. And that leads you to this rock that let you jump on the point. You can duck into this building here, go up these stairs. There's a broken window here. Little Timmy fucked up and accidentally sent his baseball through the window and shattered it. There's the baseball. But anyway, you go up the stairs. You're on this little bridge. You get a little bit of a high ground thing that you can take advantage of. Here, it's not too much high ground. It's pretty much level ground. I'm pretty sure it's exactly... Yeah, it's exactly level ground with the control point. So it's not really height advantage over that. It's mainly just to give yourself, to give blue an edge coming out of their transition. And then also you have this side path. You have this side spawn exit. It has a respawn locker here, a locker there, or just a decorative locker there. This is basically the door you take to avoid the main sight lines, but it just takes longer to get through here, and the exit door is smaller. And you can rotate between the main courtyard and the side courtyard with this little passage. Get this big fence, walk around here. And that mostly takes you to this door. The lighting is kind of poor. I have some like ghost lights, just floating light entities with no actual source kind of hanging around to try to hopefully make things brighter, but you know, they're not really doing a whole lot right now. But that lighting stuff is stuff that I'll mainly be dealing with later when I actually get to properly detailing this map. There is still some detailing going on. As you can see, like this blue spawn is, the exterior is pretty detailed. It's got like some bad water inspiration. Yeah, that was the main inspiration. You got the train station, of course. One little minor thing, this little partition here actually is pretty important because of this door being changed. Originally, this partition wasn't really necessary because this door was painting was facing this way, but because this door is like this, I didn't want people to get shot by enemies standing directly outside the door, so I just added this little wall here. I think it's nice. I think it divides the area up better than when there's no partition here. I spent too long talking about that. Let's keep going. Keep going, keep going. So you have your main way over here. You got a little bit of health and ammo here. You have this rock that players can use to jump directly onto the point. You have these 2 ramps that players can use to climb up onto the point. Like this. You have this side room where you can take the stairs up here. This is like Red's main defensive spot. In the very first version of the map, this room did not exist, but I added it in the second version. This is the 13th version, like I said before. And you got this big, chunky ammo right here. And you have these crates. These crates are actually mainly to block a really overpowered sentry. Not that overpowered, but just annoying sentry spot. It's very particular in that I believe it was if people were able to put sentries in this particular spot where this crate was, it was like just perfectly placed such that it covered like mostly covered people that were on the point and fucked with people, but it was also really hard for people to actually shoot. Like people down here couldn't really shoot it very well. People getting on the point couldn't shoot it very well because they're starting to get shot by it. People taking the flank had a hard time shooting it because this wall's in the way, and there's supposed to be a cross beam along this chicken wire to indicate that there's a solid wall there, a solid transparent wall. But whatever, that's a wall. So it was very inconvenient. So I made it so that it was just in place just so that wherever you put the sentry, it should be vulnerable to at least one angle. But anyway, there's like here's the besides the control point being raised up super high with this drastic height variation going on, the main draw that I had in mind at this point was like this whole underground thing going on. So you have this room, you have a bunch of signs. Let's say that this kind of leads back around. What I was trying to indicate here, this is A and it has the little radio tower. I was trying to kind of hint that this room leads into this building, but it doesn't really do a good job of that in this version. I plan on fixing that later. One thing that's I believe it was Beck. Beck, the creator of CP, Sunshine, and many other maps. One suggestion that they had for me was at least like basically just they pointed out that it seemed like this building wasn't part of the gameplay space, that you couldn't go in this building or something on the surface just because this fence was pushed up so far. That seemed like this building was like out of bounds. It was something like that. I don't remember entirely what they said, but the idea that'll change later, as I guess this fence will get moved over, so this will be kind of a gameplay space over here. I don't know how I will make it like not break the balance of the rest of the map or the rest of the control point, but it should be fine. And I'll maybe like add like a window or something to indicate that there's playable space going on in here. But anyway, the main draw of this point is this flank. Get your main way into here, get a full health in here, which actually seems to work fine just because it's so out of the way. It doesn't really, it works, and it encourages people to go in here. And then you also have this secondary way to get in. This is basically like, it's a much smaller way into this room, and it takes longer overall to do it this way, especially if you're trying to navigate such that you avoid all the main sight lines. That's the main idea of that door is, and also this door, but of that door is so you can come out of spawn, and head out this way, head into here, and then head into here, and then you can go to here without running into the main big sightline. The big sightline, of course, being hanging out of here, but also mainly this window. I guess people hang out on top of the props there. Yeah, lets you avoid the sightline. And both these doors lead to the health, and then this leads into this. You get the spotlight here. It doesn't do quite as good of a job as I'd like to highlight that there is a passage here. I will find a way to make it more apparent later. Maybe I'll make it slightly brighter. Maybe I'll add a slight partition here to put a door so that it stands out a little more. Something. There'll be something. Maybe I could take the 2-fort vault door model and have the vault door sticking out to the side here to show better that there is in fact a door there that does something. But that's future stuff. Anyway, go through here. You have the spiral stairs and kind of go under here, do some funny stuff. You can go up the spiral stairs. You are now in this side building. This little back part here. This is just the door connects to the staircase for some detailing. Go here, kind of side room with a boiler, get some health and ammo, and this lets you, one, you can come into this door and you can go on the point. These props are here so that this is Red's only way. This is literally Red's only way to get to A. Defender's only way to get to A. So I wanted to put some junk in the way here so that people that are, the defenders that are hanging out around here cannot see people flanking through this building. without, like, you have to put yourself at risk to be able to watch the flank, or you have to actually be in the flank itself. You can't just cheese it by hanging out back here and then seeing people flanking and putting a stop to their plans early. Anyway, flankers come up here. Now you can wrap around, look out the window, use it to maybe get an angle in the sentry spot, something like that. These doors are not unlocked yet. They will be unlocked when I cap A, which I will go and do. Actually, before I do that, so I guess, yeah, just the main idea at this point is that the main idea with blue is that they want to try to, you know, they have to fight a pretty uphill battle the normal way and get to wrap around onto the point. The point takes a little while to cap. Drastic height variation. So what they need to do, what I aim for them to really want to strive to do, is take advantage of this underground flank and wrap around and get to here so that they can have some dominion over the defense and take over the point. And then defense's strategy, of course, is watching out for this flank and taking advantage of this upper room, which pretty much happens every single time, which I'm glad. That's the intended idea. But when we capture the point, let's see what happens. We capture the point. Take a little bit of time. I don't know why I jumped off the point for a second, because that just wastes more time. I could just use host time skill to speed this up, but I don't feel like it. So we cap the point. And what that does, the main thing that it does for blue, is that it opens up these doors. You have a one-way door here that leads right out to the next point, and you have this drop down. Drop down, there's a little bit of health here, and now you're here. So the main in quotes way to get to B now is you head down this alleyway. Got some health here, kind of back here. Some health further up near this rock. You have some stuff that you can kind of duck behind, like this fence, this stuff. Duck through. If you're heading through this alley, you can either just start heading straight to the point by going through this land area. This vast in shadow a lot. Gotta find a way to make this area brighter. Do that, or you can duck into this area where the drop down leads to. Maybe pick up some health, and you can hit the point that way. And this is like one of the defensive positions. This door is open to crack because I thought it'd be neat to have a little thing going on. You have the door down here in the little basement area, and it also connects up to this door here. I just thought it'd be a neat little detail. You get on to B. The funny gimmick with B is that it has two layers. You have the main bottom layer here, and you also have this upper layer that you can capture on as well. If you're on blue, your main way to get onto that upper layer is through this one-way door, by extension this platform. But you can also just head straight for the bottom layer, from down here or through this door or something. If you go all the way over here, you have this room. This was Red's forward spawn at the beginning of the round. So Red would come out of here. We'll talk about that when I actually switch over to defender side to see more of that perspective. Wow, my throat is starting to hurt already. And these little props that you can use. If you're on blue, you can be sneaky and maybe climb up and go into Red's old forward spawn. You put a teleport in here or something. It's like Borneo. Borneo, Red's forward spawn just turns into a room that you can walk in. I believe the original reason for that on Borneo is because it used to turn into a route itself, that blue could go through it and then pop out the other side of the room to do stuff. But they removed that feature, so it just becomes a dead end. And I think this technique is just simpler than trying to like teleport people out of the room or anything. It just becomes no longer a spawn, which I think is fine. Anyway, your main attack here. If you're on defense, you can like go up onto this container to get some high ground here, and also get up on this part. Talk about this building in a moment when we go to the defensive side. If you're routing all the way over here, you can kind of duck behind this. There's this little little pushed out part here that you can do stuff in. You can interact with stuff there. Interact with enemies, I guess. Some health packs on the train itself. That's funny. So yeah, I guess the main idea with this point, I also have these windows that just let you look onto the point. Originally, part of the design of this area was based on these windows were open. These windows would open when A was capped, and you could jump through them and start heading onto the point. But what I quickly realized is that it just did not create very fun gameplay. It wasn't very fun to deal with people that were up here. It just made attacking too easy, and it also let the occasional defender hop up into the window and take dominion over this area when they really should not have been able to. But so these just become windows you can look through but not shoot through. The main idea with this building is textured, not detailed, but textured. I guess this is a little bit detailing here, whatever. Is kind of have your main alleyway onto the point here. You mainly want to try to. This is kind of sorta a flank. There isn't really a flank on this point. It's kind of weird. This is like sorta a flank, but not really, and kind of going over here is sorta a flank, but not really. It's kind of an issue. But yeah, it's a bit strange. But I just like the main idea of attacking is trying to get this high ground, playing around this. And then when you cap this point, you unlock that forward spawn over there. Let's capture that point. God, my throat hurts. Let's take a sip of water. Right. So after a slight delay, it's like 5 seconds or something, get this forward spawn. There's some like crates here that let you prop jump back up to the spawn. There's these like little ledges hanging out outside of the spawns that let you put teleporters, so you don't have to put a teleporter all the way down on the ground. But anyway, move on to final. Your 3 options. You have this outdoor alley here. Go here. You have this another big, chunky, full health here, which also seems to work fine, just because of how out of the way this alley is. Excuse me. You have this main way here is kind of the moss rock thing going on, where you have 2 well shutters. You have this also have this door to let you transition about the area, excuse me, a little better. You also have this side room that takes you out to here. So you go out the main door, you have here's last here, the big spawn building here. You have the point here. It's a long point. The way this point used to be was that this was sunk. The area was much further down. It had a much more of a bad water dynamic going on, where it was pretty low down. And half the control point was on the ramp itself. It was kind of nuts. But then I realized that just did not play very well, so I just shifted it to being just kind of a wide point that goes from the start of the ramp all the way to the door here. And that seems to play fine. Yeah, that's like your main approach onto the point. What else do you have? There used to be a route that was more in this area that would either, I think it was like in the earlier versions, it would take you from here to this upper building in some fashion. And then in later versions, it would take you down into this, what would become this alcove. But now there's just not a route here at all. It just, this kind of bends back into the main road. And then over here, side door, this crate. This crate is mainly to block a sight line, but also lets attackers get some height advantage over this area. You have this building, which is a drop down, leads you onto the point, just like that. And of course, you also have this alleyway over here, which lets you get onto the point this way, and it also lets you outrange sentries and stuff that are up there. So you can do that. And of course, this is one of Red's spawn exits, kind of. And then here's the other one. And so I guess the main idea with this one is Red's gonna be having their defenses going on up here, and you want blue to Well, it's kind of the last has been kind of an issue for a while. I should turn the HUD back off. Last has been kind of an issue for a bit because there isn't like kind of like B. It has kind of the same problem as B, where it doesn't really have much of a flank either. Like this alley was meant to be kind of the flank, but it doesn't really serve that purpose in reality. And it seems like people aren't properly like funneled. It seems that's one of the complaints I got, is that it's like on last people aren't funneled properly, and I can definitely see it because like you have the main way into here, but you also have a pretty big, basically like almost a second just longer mainish way onto the point from that way. So it's just kind of strange. So those are definitely things I need to fix. I guess to switch onto defensive side a little bit, there's a couple of things to bring up, I guess. If it would let me respawn, that is. Technically, I didn't need to switch teams to demonstrate defense, so I might as well. So this is red spawn. Well, no, that's... Let's go to where they first spawn. This is where red first spawns, of course. That would be a resupply locker. This is just spawn door. Come out of here. This would be your main and only way onto A. People could set up their sentries and stuff up on this third floor of this building. Keep down the point. And the main idea, defending, like I said before, is keeping control of being up here. One thing I forgot to mention about being up here is that on attackers, when you're attacking, once you capped A, you can also use this building to your advantage to get a sight line down here. It doesn't view the point at all, but it does give you a nice sight line over people that might be looking at this alleyway. That's something. I think Mountain Lab kind of has a similar dynamic a little bit. But anyway. Yeah. And so once A gets capped, this is no longer their spawn. You get instantly respawned if you're dead and A gets capped. You get respawned into this room. It is a one-way temporary forward spawn. It's kind of like a tiny little warehouse thing with some funny windows and some trucks. With this door, it is one way. Can't go back in. There isn't even a resupply locker. It's a similar principle to, there's a spawn like it on Snowy Coast. On Snowy Coast C, I believe, which is the point that's in the cave. When B gets capped, you get instant respawned, I think. I don't know if it's instant, but you get respawned into a temporary forward spawn that's right by C. And then right after everyone gets spawned into that room, your spawn is then immediately moved to this last spawn. Over there. So, you're on B. Your main way of defending this stuff is get this train car for defense. You want to watch out for this one-way door. This one-way door at the moment is a bit too powerful. The change that I have in mind for this to kind of fix some stuff, because this is going to end up, the solution that I have in mind will end up fixing two problems, and I'll explain why once I actually say what happens. Is what I'm going to do is this one-way door is going to be moved or inward. The one-way door is going to be along here. There'll be a little partition here with a door frame, and the one-way door will be in there instead of where it was before. And so, it'll have that, and then in conjunction with that, instead of there being a drop down here, there will be a staircase. The staircase goes up here, a little bit up here, and now, so you can just walk up to this upper floor, but you can't go through the one-way door. And this will solve multiple problems. The main one being that it would actually make this one-way door more risky. It means if you are trying to take this upper route, you have to commit. You go through the door, now you're here. You're in a pretty risky spot. It might be a little bit of a death room once you leave the one-way door, but maybe not. We'll see. So you actually have to kind of commit a bit. You can't just kind of peek the door over and over to get an advantage over B. But it also solves one issue that people were having, was that rotating between the routes was kind of annoying, because mainly because this is a drop down. I was like, if you are over here, you can't really transition up here very well. Now, obviously, it might still be a bit of a pain in the ass because you'd have a one-way door here, which means if you're in this alley and you wanted to transition to going up here, you would have to have someone up here to hold the door open for you to walk up here. But, you know, it's better than not really being able to rotate at all. If you're down here, you're stuck down here. The only way you'd be able to rotate up here is if you are a jumping class and you jump through the drop down. But with the staircase and moving the door, it means that blue players, I guess also red players, but mainly blue players, can rotate from this area up to here, put some help with their team, and also makes this door not stupidly powerful for blue. And it would also solve another more minor issue in that when you're attacking A, there's kind of just, this is kind of just a dead end because this door is locked and this door is also locked. So this is just kind of becomes a dead end. But with the one-way door getting moved here, it is not nearly as much of a dead end, which is good. It solves a lot of issues, I think. Hopefully it plays better. Yeah. Yeah. So main thing with defense, high ground. And then last, of course, the main thing here is you have this high ground ledge here to put sentries on. You could also set up a sentry kind of more down in the cubby. It's kind of got a bit of a bad, still has a bit of a bad water dynamic even without as much of a drastic height change. And you also want to look out for this alleyway over here. And this is the spawn. You get spawned once you get force respawned into this spawn for B, then your spawn gets moved to the final spawn, and this remains your spawn for the rest of the game on defense. You've got these big windows that let you look down on the point, and then you have your two spawn exits. You have this room that you have to kind of spiral down and out here. Originally, when I first made this new C on A2, this was the actual spawn door. Like, this is where the shutter was, and then when you're in this room, you're in the spawn. What I quickly realizes that it made it too easy to just kind of peek the point using the shutter. Whatever, that's not fun. I guess you could probably also banny bind. If you're like having trouble, you could walk that door, fucking banny bind all the way back up here, change class or whatever, which is kind of dumb. So now this is not the spawn door specifically. You have to go through here and actually up the staircase, and now you're in the spawn, which I think is okay. And then of course you have your other spawn next here, a little bit of a nook going on here, and you wrap around, and then you can use this a little bit to get a tiny bit of high ground over the point, put some ammo there, or you can head up here to do the main type of part. And then of course watching out for this drop down room and this alleyway. It's still, C is a pretty flawed point, a very flawed point, I think, but it's it's better than what I did for the micro contest version of this map. And I think, in fact, just for comparison's sake, why don't I go and boot up that version of the map? Change level CP paper AD micro. This map is this was made before I changed my username, I think. Yeah. So, be waiting for players cancel. This is what last looked like in the very first version. Yeah, these fucking floating trains here. You have this eldritch monster rocket going up into the sky. It's just, and there's a death pit here, and the point just, it's so stupid. It's so bad. You can see echoes of the current version in this version, like, you have a similar high ground thing here. And I guess being able to walk over here. Well, that's really it. It's bad. This point was made when I was getting really delirious. Once again, I did not use all 24 hours. I did not map for 24 hours straight for the micro contest, but it was getting very late at night when I was making this point. So I just said, fuck it. I just threw shit at the wall. Apparently it was sort of fun for some people, but it sucked. So I changed it. So, And there are other changes in this one, like the blue spawn, the whole transition set of buildings did not exist. Blue spawn is much closer. There's no second way to here. There was no third floor of this building. These windows moved and changed. Like when you cap this point, these windows would close and these would open, and you could jump out these windows to deal with the point here. And there's the staircase here. So I was kind of bringing back something from the first version for the what will be the latest version, but it'll be different. It'll be better. I promise. And a bunch of other stuff that's different. There's also like this ledge here, this weird high ground ledge, which would then turn into, for a majority of the versions, it would turn into this went up, and then it went into a little passage here, and then it went into a room that was above the point here with windows that looked down onto the point. But that wasn't very fun either. It was not fun for the same reason having these windows be open and being able to jump through them was not fun. So I ended up just scrapping this room and the staircasing to it entirely, and nothing of value was lost. So change level back to the original version. If I can recall, somebody once told me that I could make some money by bullying people online. No, I'm kidding. This guy's calling. But anyway, just pause the timer. So you just fly around now. Let's see here. What is there? What else is there to say? I guess in terms of, I can talk about how the map tends to play versus how I want it to play. That's one thing. In general, people seem to have fun on this map, and it sort of plays as intended, but there are definitely major, like each point seems to have a major issue. And most of the issues come down to the flanks, either not really existing or not being effective. A is an example of the flanks not really being effective, mainly because people have a hard time actually realizing that there is a flank, because the main way into the flank is obscured. I mean, you have like little hints going on here. You have these arrows that point stuff. It says A and has a radio tower picture, and then this building has a radio tower. So maybe people will be like, "Oh, there's a connection there. This door leads to this building somehow." But that's a very loose whatever. And also this door. This door is actually less obscured, kind of. Not really. But it's just like, you know, I don't fault people for not really properly taking advantage of this flank, because it's just kind of hard to see how things. It's hard to connect the dots that there actually is something you could do with this. So the flank goes a little underused. Main problem with B, it's just kind of there isn't really a flank, and also there's the whole rotation problem and this door being busted and other things. I already explained how I was going to fix that in the next version. But yeah, it's just like, this is kind of like can't really rotate with this. There isn't really a flank here, among other things. And then last, also has a similar issue to B, in that the flank is just kind of non-existent, and it doesn't, like C in particular kind of has an issue where it feels like I don't entirely agree with it, but what I have heard from multiple people is that it seems like the routes for blue into the point aren't really any better than the other. There isn't really a distinct, clear advantage or disadvantage between the routes, which I can see. I can see it. Also, people complain that you can't jump over this fence. That is fixed in the next version, but that's a smaller thing. So there's definitely things that I gotta think about with updating this map, like making routes more distinct, have more distinct advantages and drawbacks on C, improving the flow of B, making the flank more apparent on A. But overall, people seem to have a fun time on this map, and I am glad. And while, you know, I hope people enjoy it enough that it places highly or even wins the minor contest portion, and maybe even the major contest portion when that comes. Maybe. Fingers crossed, but I can't make anyone do anything or vote in any way that they don't want to. So whether or not someone watching this video enjoys this map or does not enjoy the map is up to them. And I'm really bad with words and my throat hurts, so that's pretty much all I have to say about this point. If people have more specific questions about the map that they would like to ask, feel free to drop them in the comments or something. Comments on the video, or maybe comments on the map page. I will link the map page as well as a link to the main contest thread in the description of the video. But yeah, that is CP Mâché 813. And wait a minute. This radio tower is not centered with the building. Oops. That's an easy fix though. Anyway, that's it. That is the map. Goodbye.